Good evening and welcome to The Point. I'm Pooja, Shali. This evening, I'm going to tell you about how this day is all about Donald Trump. First, a ceasefire claim, then a threat to Israel and Iran not to bomb each other, and then ending what he had to say with, "What the F?" We'll try and analyze that. After the 12-day war in West Asia, Donald Trump claimed ceasefire for Iran and Israel.
I don't like the fact that Israel went out this morning at all, and I'm going to see if I can stop it. So as soon as I get away from you, I'm going to see if I can stop it, okay?
Tehran fires at US bases, targets Tel Aviv. Empty words or real success in truce? Is Trump set for a Nobel Peace Prize? So here's what has happened in the past 24 hours. A ceasefire was declared and by Donald Trump, but the missile strike didn't stop. Hours after President Trump's announcement, missiles were fired thick and how, buildings crumbling, both Iran and Israel accusing each other of betrayal and casualties. Here's how, so to say, a truce unraveled between Israel and Iran.
A raging war for 12 long days. West Asia witnessing its biggest conflict in decades. And a sudden ceasefire on Tuesday, then massive violations by both Israel and Iran. Early on Tuesday, US President Donald Trump called up Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu and Iranian leadership and dramatically declared Israel-Iran ceasefire. But the skies over West Asia lit up once again hours into the truce. Images from Israel showed barrages of attacks from Iran and Israeli counterstrikes. Trump had claimed that the truce would begin in phases, first the Iran halting operations, followed by an Israeli pause 12 hours later.
I think the president really hit the reset button and said, look, let's actually produce long-term peace for the region. That's always been his goal. I actually think when we look back, we will say the 12-day war was an important reset moment for the entire region.
But within hours, Iran launched a fresh wave of missiles at Israeli cities, including Beersheba, where a residential building was hit. Israel reported multiple deaths in Iranian attacks.
Inputs of heavy damages in Beersheba and multiple different locations after Iran had launched this attack on Israel. In the morning at 5 a.m. there were alerts that were sounded by the Home Front Command, after which people had to take shelters for a very long period of time. For around 2 hours they had to be in shelters. And now also the crowd or people on the streets is very limited. So the Home Front Command has continued to tell people that they need to be very cautious, do not move until it is essential for them to move. So this is how the situation looks like in Israel right now.
In retaliation, Israeli jets struck missile launch sites in western Iran, targeting what they claimed were imminent threats. Israel's defense minister accused Iran of violating the agreement and ordered intense strikes deep into the heart of Tehran. Iran's foreign minister stood defiant, claiming his country was responding to Israeli aggression, and vowed that Iranian troops will keep fighting till the last minute. Iran's Supreme Council declared victory after declaring ceasefire, claiming that the Zionist enemy was forced into peace by Iranian power. Meanwhile, Russia has cast doubt on Trump brokered truce, calling it premature to draw any conclusions. Ceasefire or smokescreen? This war may have paused, but peace nowhere in sight. With Shivani Sharma, Bureau Report, India Today.
All right, let's begin a discussion on this, and specifically because it's an incredible panel this evening on To The Point. Sushant Sareen is joining me as a strategic affairs expert. Ambassador Deepak Vora as well, former Indian diplomat. He's served in some of the regions. We are talking about some of these countries where ceasefire claim has come forth. William Wexler also joining me, Senior Director, Middle East Programs, Atlantic Council. William, let's begin with you. Is this a decisive leadership by Donald Trump? Can this ceasefire be claimed as a success compared to the earlier claims that have come in? Or should we say these were empty words because the missiles are still being fired?
No, it's clearly decisive leadership from President Trump, both in terms of the striking of Fordo and other nuclear sites, and a declaration of a ceasefire. But that's not the end. That's not the definition of success. Success will come if this ceasefire leads to direct negotiations between the United States and Iran, direct negotiations which conclude with Iran giving up on any enrichment of nuclear weapons in its country.
All right, so that's at least, that means there are days to come. Do you see this as a 12-day war ending, or do you think it will continue for the days to come?
The real answer is we don't know, but there's a possibility that the ceasefire will hold. I can only assume, and this is an assumption, that the reason why Donald Trump called for a ceasefire is because he already got agreement from Iran to have those kinds of direct negotiations. Usually, that's a very typical approach for Iran and all of Iranian proxies to do in the middle of a war, where they demand a ceasefire before negotiations begin. Usually, it's not accepted. I suspect, don't know, but I suspect that in this case, Donald Trump did accept it.
Sushant, I come to you. At least from what I can see, 6 claims of truce between nations, Africa to Asia, but wars in most of these regions continue. My question is anyone really even listening to him? Because when he says eventually, just a short while back, what the F, I wonder if he knows what he's doing either.
You know, I thought that Trump 2.0 would be a little less chaotic and erratic than Trump 1.0, but it seems he's gone to the next level now.
Which means
and
what?
he seems to think that the entire world is, or contending parties or contending countries are basically 2 real estate brokers who are fighting with each other about a particular deal, and that he can come and knock their heads together. This is now not how this works. Take the India-Pakistan thing, for example. For 40 years, terrorism has been imposed on us. What the hell has Trump done about it? Right? He goes and sups with the killer of the man who was responsible initially for Pulwama as the ISI chief, and the man who's supposed to have given orders for what happened in Pahalgam, where 26 innocent Hindus were killed. He sits and has a lunch with him, and he has no compunctions. And he then expects that, we will lie flat and prostrate before him because he's some kind of a king or emperor. That's not how the way the real world works. And that's not how he is going to be able to address the concerns of either Israel or, for that matter, of Iran, right? The second thing, and this is even more critical, apart from his personality quirks, the question is, Pooja, has America ensured that the Iranian nuclear facilities that were being targeted have actually been taken down? We are not sure about that, right? What if they have not been taken down? What if, this ceasefire or whatever you want to call it is a work left half done, and largely the Iranian capabilities remain intact? What is he going to do about that then? What if whatever negotiations go on, you have thrown whatever you could at the Iranians? You have not been able to make them budge even
No regime change.
No, you can't effect a regime change out there, and you've not been able to budge them really, despite imposing all kinds of sanctions on them. And now, because you want to impose more sanctions on them, you are trying to rope in countries like India, which is supposedly a very friendly country and one of the few countries in the world where, there is a very positive image of the United States, most of these MAGA characters are trying to alienate us also. Fine, we'll survive. It'll cause some
So,
losses for us, but we'll manage. The world can live without the United States. Can the United States live without the world? So the kind of craziness that we are seeing now in the US is really reaching next level. And frankly, the question is that when Trump very boldly said total surrender, has he got total surrender? Has he got total surrender? I don't think so. And if he hasn't got total surrender, then is this back to taco? Trump again chickens out or always chickens out. So
and
I
then
don't know.
also, yes.
It's a bizarre world we are living in now, where we thought that the most powerful country in the world had some gravitas in it, had some something that people could rely on, something that people, you took the words of an American president very seriously.
Correct.
I'm not sure if we can anymore.
That's a strong statement, and that's perhaps what a lot of people have been discussing about. Ambassador Vora, tongue in cheek, if I may ask, is this Donald Trump's world and we are just living in it? At least that's how he makes it appear.
Well, ma'am, thank you very much. First of all, appreciation for permitting me to be on your amazing channel. I learned so much from you in particular. And then a complaint. You have Mr. Veshal and you have Sushant Sareen, whose knowledge is much greater than mine. I feel most inadequate in the presence of these two stalwarts. Now, why did Israel hit Iran? Israel eliminated its proxies. We all know that. It eliminated Hamas. It emasculated Hezbollah, and it told the Houthis, shut up, otherwise we're going to deal with you. Why then did it hit Iran? I've been looking for an answer. I've lived in that region for 20 years. I've visited all the countries involved. They are saying that we want to ensure our survival. We don't accept a nation whose leaders have consistently said that Jews have no right to exist. Israel should be wiped off the map of the earth. So we are hitting the head of the octopus. That was Israel's thing. And when the ceasefire came, Prime Minister Bibi Netanyahu, by the way, whom I respect greatly, said that we have majorly achieved our objectives, almost all of them. And so now it was time to accept a ceasefire. For the United States, ma'am, again, they don't like Iran. You know this better than I do.
Correct.
There's a feeling that it's a radical Islamist country, and that if they ever make a bomb, they might sell it to the highest bidder amongst what is referred to as non-state actors. I don't know what that means, but they might sell it, and America might have to go through another very difficult moment. The scars of 9/11 haven't healed yet. Why did Iran accept it? My own feeling, ma'am, and give me a moment, is that Iran has been so badly clobbered that Ayatollah, who heads the regime, we don't even know where he is. He wasn't seen on Friday press. My own group of people who are very brilliant and much more intelligent than I am, we have an informal group. They say he's hiding in Moscow, where he's having tea with his buddy, the Syrian fellow, Bashar al-Assad, or whatever it was. Now, as far as why did then Iran accept the ceasefire? This, I think, was a face-saving device. Look, Israel came and begged for mercy. So we said, all right, we will forgive you. See what a wonderful people we are. He's got nothing left. His leaders have been eliminated by the Israelis. His strength has gone. His nuclear facilities, whether Mr. Sareen accepts it or not, have been bombed. This is what Bibi Netanyahu said, that we have achieved our objective of eliminating its nuclear and missile facilities. I have no reason to doubt him. If it wasn't there, he would have continued to fight. But for Iran, it was meant to be a victory celebration. I just heard others, I've seen the thing, oh, we've defeated the greatest country in the world. Oh, wow. Mr. Veshal, if you live in the United States, did you know that Iran just invaded your country? Because they've defeated the greatest country in the world. Happy birthday. I don't know what kind of stuff these guys have for this hallucination. But nevertheless, my own feeling, ma'am, this ceasefire is not going to last. It was never meant to last. President Trump, whom I respect greatly as the president of the most powerful country in the world, I might have a different opinion about him as a person, but nevertheless, I've met him a few times. I think he's a great guy. And so what he has gone, and even he said on his way to Brussels, that terrible fellows, these Israelis, can America survive, continue to control the Middle East? Bottom line, without Israel, Israel is the chowkidar. Otherwise, all these Sunni Islamic radical fellows around are going to create total chaos in the Middle East. Israel is a force for stability. And ma'am, by way of disclaimer, may I say something also, Mr. Sareen? If you understand why I speak on behalf of Israel, in my extended family in the US, I do have a Jewish daughter-in-law. She calls me dad. So you can understand that
Okay.
my heart goes out to these kids out there, and they have a right to survive.
Okay.
So do the Iranians. But basically, there is a total lack of trust. Until that lack of
Lack of
trust,
trust in who, Ambassador Vora?
the Israelis to the Iranians to the Israelis, and to some extent, the Israelis in the United States, of course, very little, but the Iranians totally in the United States.
William,
My
do you
own
feel at
feeling-
this? Yes, yes. Go ahead, sir. Finish your
I
point.
was sorry. I was going to complete by saying my own feeling. The people of Iran, whether you like
Yes.
it or not, are living in a house where they are uncomfortable. It's ruled by unelected institution. There is a racket called the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. If you're not wearing the right clothes or your hair isn't styled properly, you can be picked up and put in jail. No, I don't
Correct.
think, ma'am, a young lady like you, a very elegant lady, would want to live in a country like that.
Absolutely.
But
I do agree to that. So there are issues
so
clearly with the regime.
therefore, let me say, ma'am, that the people of Iran are living in a haunted house. But what is the alternative? If we overthrow the regime, we get out of the house. The West had made so many promises about liberation. Happy birthday, Iraq. Happy birthday, Libya. Happy birthday, Syria.
About
We know-
liberation, Ambassador Vora, and also the Nobel Peace Prize. William, let's address the elephant in the room regularly. And we've put out that statement of Donald Trump that it is very clear now that the incumbent president believes that he's not being given enough credit, that he won't be getting a Nobel Peace Prize despite all his initiatives. Do you believe his initiatives are working? Because from where I look at it, possibly, if at all, we can say with North Korea, the tensions may have eased. But otherwise, whether it's Congo, Rwanda, Abraham Accord, Russia, Ukraine, the war is still on.
You know, I grew up north of New York City and been watching Donald Trump involuntarily since the early 80s, and he
Okay.
has never felt that he has received the credit that he's deserved on any topic whatsoever. So this is just in calling with his longstanding personality. He's also very frustrated that President Obama received the Nobel Peace Prize right at the beginning of his tenure, and so these types of disparities in his mind gnaw him. His policies towards Iran have been confusing to the outside world because, frankly, they've been confused inside the administration and inside of the mind of Donald Trump. He got out of the JCPOA, went to maximum pressure, then came into this administration, his second term, firing all the people that were interested in maximum pressure, trying to beg to go into something like the JCPOA again. Then Iran said no. Didn't want Israel to attack. Israel did attack. Then he liked Israel's attack. Then he wasn't going to attack. Then he did attack. So there has been a lack of strategic consistency from Donald Trump. There's no question about it. The question before us right now, where we are, is given the strategic advantages that, to be fair, Donald Trump has contributed to, and
Like what?
Israel has contributed to vis-a-vis Israel. Can they turn that into a diplomatic initiative that can achieve our real objective, which is that Iran is not in a position to pose an existential threat to the region?
What do you think is the biggest objective? You think that Iran has been slightly has been pushed back to a certain extent? Do you think that is an achievement that Trump administration has achieved?
It's absolutely an achievement that the Trump administration has achieved. It's first and foremost an achievement that Israel has achieved through its decimation of its proxies, through setting the conditions for regime change to happen in Syria, losing perhaps Iran's most important proxy, and its response to not one but two direct Iranian attacks on Israel by taking out first its air defenses and then beginning to take out its nuclear program, followed by Donald Trump hopefully completing the job in Fordo. The regime in Tehran is guilty of strategic malpractice and has led itself and its people into a series where Iran's power is severely diminished. That's the reality, and that's why they're hopefully going to come to the negotiating table.
Sushant, I want to take the Nobel Peace Prize question to you because as I checked, out of the 6 US presidents and vice presidents, 5 of them are Democrats, so to say liberals, as he likes to target them with. I think he does have a point there. Barack Obama wanted to strengthen international diplomacy, cooperation among people. Do you think this is Donald Trump's desperation to want a peace prize? Do you think this is the USA's desperation to come across as a big brother in conflicts? Or do you think he has a fair point to say, if I'm trying so much, why don't I deserve the credit for it?
Pooja, I'm shocked that somebody who has been elected as the president of the United States,
Yes.
and somebody who occupies perhaps the most coveted and the most powerful office in the world, is so petty and so shallow that he hankers for something like a damn Nobel Prize, which even a Malala Yousafzai gets. Don't people know what are the kind of people who get Nobel Peace Prizes? Do they actually bring about change in the world? Did Obama deserve the Nobel Peace Prize? What peace did he bring about? So it's the most useless damn thing in the world. I can understand a Nobel Prize for physics. I can understand it for economics. I can understand it for chemistry, literature. But this peace prize is the most third-rate damn prize, yeah. He doesn't need the money. If he wants the medallion, just give it to him, for God's sake. At least, this whole drama will end. Because it's the most worthless prize in the world. It's mostly given on political grounds, because you want to make some, statement somewhere. But why would any person, but why would say somebody like a Mr. Modi in India, who's such a popular leader, who's won 3 elections on the trot, has been in power in one way or another for the last 25 years, why would somebody like him hanker for something as third rate as a Nobel Peace Prize? For what? What does it bestow on you? Who remembers? How many Nobel Peace Prize winners do you remember? Please tell me. Right? Many of which you will remember is out of contempt, not out of any admiration. So my point is, this is the most useless prize, first.
But is that leading to a dangerous game here?
No, but I think what is more concerning as far as I am concerned, and let me just clarify to what Ambassador Vora was saying. I have absolutely nothing against Israel. In fact, I deeply admire that country. I find the people to be really nice people, always very welcoming, very helpful, and very great friends of India. At the same time, I have no truck and I have no brief for the despicable regime in Iran. But I think the Iranians are an extremely proud people and a very, very nice people. And it's a shame to see what is happening to them. So I have a deep admiration for both. But my problem right now on a strategic plane is, look, one, even if you're trying to bring about some kind of a rapprochement in the area, the last thing the broker should do, the middleman should do, which is what Trump is to actually take credit for what's happening. Credit should always be given to the two protagonists, trying to bring them together. Here he is saying that the Iranians wanted, the Iranians are saying that the Israelis wanted a ceasefire. The Israelis are saying the Iranians wanted a ceasefire. Donald Trump is saying his own story.
Sushant, that's the question. I want to ask that to Ambassador Vora. Final question, Ambassador Vora. Yes, that at this juncture, that Donald Trump, in fact, should be more humble and say that the regions have been able to resolve it. Even with India, Pakistan, we've seen how it was about him taking credit while the situation hasn't been resolving in the past few months and weeks itself. Do you think at this juncture, it could be a dangerous game of ego rather than actually bringing in peace in the world and could actually make Israel more defiant against Israel, and the USA, Middle East could actually face more tensions?
He has been accused of having a narcissistic personality, whatever that means. My wife accuses me of having that. So I'm not going to comment on the kind of personality that he has. But let me just put it to you very bluntly, ma'am. Experts, international experts, say that we should replace this kinetic military action with dialogue and diplomacy. What dialogue? Sit on a table, put Benjamin Netanyahu and that Iranian fellow in a room, and Mr. Serene can sit as a mediator. And what are they going to talk about? Israel says, I have the right to exist. Iran says, you don't have the right to exist. Where is the mediation?
And also, again, at this juncture, the mediation that we are talking to, you've also served in some of those countries. Do they really listen to what the USA has to say, or are they looking in 2025 at their own domestic interests? Thank you so much, gentlemen, for your perspective. Yes. for your perspectives and expertise as well. It's a developing story. We'll be tracking what happens in the hours to come between Iran, Israel, and if the USA gets more involved. Thank you so much for watching. So was the ceasefire claim by Donald Trump leading to fruition on the ground? There were missiles fired between Israel and Iran even after the ceasefire and the truce claim by the US president. Just a short while ago, I spoke to military expert from Austria, Tom Cooper. He's explaining to us not only about the missiles, but what Donald Trump has been up to. Listen in. Do you believe Trump has been able to get this ceasefire done? Is the ceasefire on? Will Iran and Israel abide by it?
Hello, nice to be with you. Thank you very much for invitation. Regarding, excuse me for expression, this is really hard to use the word ceasefire because there is no ceasefire. And I mean, I have a neighbor who has a 6-year-old daughter, and if she announces a ceasefire, it would be as what Trump has announced the last night. Trump is boasting on the social media, that's all. Netanyahu the same. The Iranian foreign minister is attempting to explain what is going on and their conditions. They are ignoring him and simply doing, the Israelis are doing their thing, continue doing their thing. So Iranian foreign minister has said if Israel stops at 4 o'clock in the morning, Iran is going to stop. Israel didn't stop, and that's it, no ceasefire. I mean, even if there is no agreement about the ceasefire, no kind of written document or anything of that kind. So, excuse me for expression, but all of this, what steam about ceasefire, not what mention.
Why do you think then the US president, after all, it's no ordinary figure. He made the same comment when it came to India, Pakistan. India had to refute, even though Pakistan went ahead and said we'll nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize. He's doing it again. He's repeatedly tried to mention that I have managed this truce and ceasefire in conflict areas while we know that the war is still on the ground.
Because he is the most important person to himself and nothing else matters. And it is the same why he has involved the USA in this war with this Israeli aggression on Iran. Because he became jealous that Netanyahu is attracting so much attention, therefore he must be now the peacemaker and deal broker and so on. And this is the only purpose he's doing all of this.
Do you believe Iran, while has refuted it already, will take a step back on this? Because Iran, with the Khamenei regime, says they'll go all after Israel and the USA assets as well. What
shall Iran do? It's Israel who is attacking Iran, not the other way around. Iran can only strike back. What shall they do? They should sit there and wait for Israelis to continue attacking them. There is no other option.
Let's talk about the images that came in a few hours ago, the night sky that was lit up even over Qatar when we saw the missiles coming in. Do you think this could, one, tell me about the missiles, the kind of airstrikes that we are looking at right now from Iran? And two, do you think that this could drag in other countries?
Well, of course it could drag into other countries. The question is how professional are politicians over there? I mean, U.S. strike on Iranian nuclear facility was an obvious show, striking empty facilities from which enriched material was evacuated already days before that. Iranians have had so much time to evacuate their facilities that they have even buried the entrances to Fordo, for example. So, I mean, this is not something that you are doing in a matter of 2 hours or something. You drive a bulldozer and then get a little bit of gravel and earth into this entrance. These are huge constructions. You have to move thousands of tons of material in order to bury them. So this has happened already 2 days before the US strike. And so what the Americans bombed, okay, nice, fantastic operation, flew from the United States to all the way to Iran and reached actually these facilities. Iranians didn't even shoot back. So if somebody is considering this a serious military operation, fine with me. Then Iranians strike back at Al Udeid Air Base. This is a headquarters of the United States forces in the Middle East. fired something like, well, if it was 20, I don't believe it was more than 20 missiles. Only one impact was recorded. That's it.
Exactly.
The air base was also evacuated already a week ago, so they hit also not. This was all show, and then Israelis continued bombing Iran. What shall Iranians do but continue rocketing Israel?
Tom, I want to pick up from what you have said. So basically a missile strike, not many casualties, immediate ceasefire. You must have also caught on to this chatter that's coming up, even from experts, that was this a fixed match between the USA, Iran, Israel combined to make it look like one, and then suddenly Qatar appears to come in for a ceasefire. How do you react to this term coming up in the past few hours, a fixed match?
There is no fixed match except a little bit between the United States and Iran. The two are running show operations against each other. The United States does not want to become involved or dragged into a war that is going to last for years. That is sure. Iran knows that it cannot counter U.S. Military power, so does not want to become involved, but has to strike back because it was attacked and hit. But actual war goes on. This is Israeli aggression on Iran. And this war is going on, as we can see from three-wave missile strike on Israel this morning, causing heavy casualties in Beersheba, hitting Tel Aviv, Ramat David air base, and several other places in Israel. This is what matters. What matters is that Israeli airstrikes continue throughout the night. Arguably, these airstrikes are run from far away, usually from outside of the Iranian airspace. Only Israeli UAVs are operating inside Iranian airspace, but nevertheless, they continue attacking Iran, and therefore Iran hit back, and that's it. I mean, all of Trump's announcements about ceasefire, this is all him trying to claim all the fame for himself. This is all that matters to Trump, while he's probably distracting from whatever he's doing at home in the United States.
So at this juncture, I also want to talk about the kind of missiles that are being fired from Iran as much, and that has led to some casualties like we're talking about in Beersheba, but also from Iran. Do you want to elaborate on that, this new attack that has happened from Iran just ahead of the ceasefire, when we saw the sky lit up even over Qatar? What kind of missiles are we talking about here?
Well, in the case of Qatar, they have fired shorter-ranged missiles with something like 500 kilometers range, lighter missiles. This was just a show operation. Again, there was no ceasefire. The announcements by Trump are null and void, as pointless, as I said, as if my neighbor's daughter has made them. It's the same word. What the Iranians are doing, or actually using against Israel, is a different caliber of weapons. There are three generations of them. There are older ones from early 2000s, which are less precise, liquid-fueled. Then there is second generation, which is still liquid-fueled, but much heavier, much more precise, upgraded. And then there's a third generation, which is including hypersonic re-entry vehicles, which is very precise, which is regularly scoring hits in Israel, regularly causing heavy damage. What the Iranians are using, what they're trying to do is to hit selected spots in Israel. The problem for Iranians is that the IRGC is trying to hit targets of symbolic importance, like Ministry of Interior, Ministry of Defense, and so on, instead of military targets. So there is a clash between these two schools inside the IRGC. The serious military school is trying to hit military targets like air defense sites. The typical IRGC school is trying to hit symbolic targets. And it is really hard to follow, which of the two groups is kind of in advantage on a given day. One day they hit one kind of targets, the other day another kind of targets. Some are interpreting this as mapping of the Israeli air defenses, and certainly there is that element as well. But essentially, down at the bottom, there is a clash of these two schools, with one demanding strikes on military targets and the other on symbolic targets, on propaganda targets. And it is every single day there is, you know, a kind of a clash between them, and one can never say which one is an advantage this day or a disadvantage. But essentially, I said ballistic missiles, which are more sophisticated than those of Pakistan, for example, which are also longer ranged, which can deploy multiple re-entry vehicles, which means multiple warheads, which can also deploy cluster bomb units. We have seen several times deployed against Israel and so on. So it is a very serious threat what Iran has in its hands.
Tom, what are you picking about details, your assessment on the kind of damage of the US-run Al Udeid base in Qatar, because that also was a target, clearly, by Iran and its missiles. So what kind of damage are we looking at, if at all?
Well, probably one hit, as far as I know. I mean, I've spent now 2 hours checking what has happened, asking contacts, checking videos and so on. And all I've seen was one impact, and that's it. Where exactly at the base, I don't know. So it's hard to estimate what exactly was hit there or not. But that was a show operation. That was not a serious military operation, especially not in comparison to what Iran is running against Israel. The point was this: the USA hit us, so we are hitting back on the United States. The United States can say they have hit Iran. Excuse me.
Let's talk about the
Iran
three
can
figures.
say we have hit back, and that's it. You know, that is a pure show. Sorry.
Pure show, you're saying. That's coming at this juncture. Let's talk about the three
figures. Show is the part between United States and Iran. Serious part is between Israel and Iran.
Let's talk about then the three figures leading these countries. It's a US President, Donald Trump, then Benjamin Netanyahu, and then Khamenei. Let's talk about these figures. How do you see them emerging right now? Who do you think has come out stronger when we talk about the narrative warfare? Who do you think perhaps at this juncture is trying to emerge stronger but is looking more as aggressive, is not helping ease down tensions? Let's talk about these three figures, because many have said that these three men at the helm of affairs could actually lead us to a World War III.
No, World War III, there is not going to be any kind of a World War III.
Okay.
I mean, look, I grew up in the 70s and 80s when US and Soviet submarines were colliding. US aircraft carrier collided with the Soviet nuclear attack submarine, when they were flying Soviet bombers all around Europe into the North Atlantic, and Americans were flying their bombers and reconnaissance aircraft into the Soviet airspace. So this was an entirely different situation. Or at least it's a different situation what I consider as possibility of World War III. When there was 1983, there was a fake alarm in Soviet air defense system, and they almost launched an all-out nuclear strike on the United States. So this is serious. What is happening here is a local affair, actually, where Israel is trying to impose its will upon entire Middle East. They have this plan. This is documented by US military documentation since 1948, and to make it sure, since March 1948, third month of the year 1948. So that means before Israel officially came into being, that Israel is planning to establish itself in hegemony over entire Middle East. And what are they doing now is just a continuation of what they started to do in 1948. They do not care about freedom of Iranians. They do not care about some liberties or whatever. The only aim is they are better than anybody else, and therefore they have to be in control of everybody in the Middle East.
Do you not see Khamenei as an oppressive regime that possibly, because there has been a certain dissent and a crackdown that has happened in Iran as well, because you say that you believe that Israel is the one, where Israeli aggression is the concern here?
Israeli aggression is the reason for this war. And it is going to remain a reason until somebody starts taking serious steps against what Israel is doing, which is dismantling the entire system of international law and order established in 44-45. United Nations Charter, custom international humanitarian law of war, Geneva Conventions, all of this is violated by Israel. And this is absolutely ignored by the West. And because West is ignoring it, Israel can continue as much as it likes. So,
Or actually
this is one
supporting
point.
Israel in many ways. The Western nations, in fact, have also been
Absolutely,
coming
they are
out
supporting.
in support
They are
of
absolutely
Israel.
supporting Israel without any kind of reservations.
Just
On
two
the
more
other hand,
questions, Tom. Yes, just two more questions.
just to finish this, because I don't want the impression to emerge that I'm supporting Iran. I'm not. I'm just analyzing what is a matter of fact. We have a murderous regime, deeply corrupt in Iran as well. This is arresting oppositionals, assassinating or executing oppositionals, and so on. There's absolutely no doubt about this. So one can also discuss the impact of religion on both sides and so on. So
That's a fair point. What about Russia and China? I want to understand. Russia's met Iranian foreign minister. How do you look at Russia's role here? China factor also has come in?
Quickly and simple, Russia is unimportant, but China is silently supporting Iran. One shouldn't forget that Iran is de facto a colony, economic colony of China, meanwhile, because it's exporting 80% of its oil to China, and it's paid in Chinese money for this, which means it can only, for money it is earning from selling oil to China, it can only buy Chinese products, nothing else.
And final question, because it concerns India, how do you look at India's role here? Do you think it should go ahead, play as a mediator? It should take a step back, protect its domestic interests, not really get into this war? Because both are our friendly allies, Israel, Iran as well. And of course, we have trade and interests with the USA.
You cannot become involved because with whom do you want to become involved? So my recommendation would be to stay out. Okay, you are importing lots of Israeli software and hardware for your armed forces. And what now? I mean, with whom do you want to become involved? With the US president who is running the country via the X or former Twitter? With Israeli president, or excuse me, for a minister president who is actually only after his own personal fame. He needs a war, he needs a permanent war in order to remain in power. Otherwise, he knows he's going to be removed. With Israeli population, 80 to 90% of which is supporting a genocide on Palestinians. With whom do you want to work over there? With the Iranian government, where Khamenei cannot even show in the public because he's constantly running away from Mossad's terror squads who attempted to assassinate him at least 5 times the last week. So with whom do you want to work over there? Stay out of this and watch it and enjoy it. Excuse me for expression.
Well, cannot say we enjoyed, but definitely tracking and looking at the developments as well. Tom, appreciate you joining us for all your perspectives and expertise as always for speaking to India today. Thank you very much. Thank you.
You're most welcome. Thank you very much. Goodbye.